Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. And tonight I am joined by two guys separated by one interstate, I-85. Rick Curti out in Charlotte and David Hodges from the Gastonia County area. Guys, glad to have you back on the broadcast.
Thank you.
How you doing, Scott? How are you, Rick?
Good. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing just great.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys back on. So before we talk about baseball, wasn't there that thing called an earthquake in North Carolina? A North Carolina earthquake?
Yeah.
Yes, there was.
We had one on Saturday morning. I think, what time was it? Like, maybe
it was 8:07 a.m. and actually it was yesterday morning.
Yeah.
It happened. Yeah, I heard a loud rumble. It actually woke me up. I thought it was thunder. And then I looked outside, and the sky was clear as could be. So I didn't really know what it was. I just thought, well, maybe I'm dreaming, and I just kind of let it go. But the thing was, I saw both my cats go running around. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe something did happen here. And actually, I jumped on Facebook, and a coworker of mine posted, and he said, "Did anyone just feel that?"
Yeah.
So then I jumped on, I went into the den, turned on the TV, and I started scrolling news channels, and then I was able to find one that said, "We've just been shaken by a 5.1 earthquake." That was actually, the epicenter was near the town of Sparta, which is roughly an hour and a half north of Charlotte, and just below the Virginia border. And I actually have a friend up there. I called him to see how he was doing, and he said he did feel it. And glad to know everyone that I know is okay. Hope everyone else out there is okay. But yeah, it was very rare for this area.
I'm from California, so I thought I escaped all those earthquakes. But it was weird. I was watching TV, and I heard it was like shaking. It shook a little bit, and then it shook a little bit more. And I just thought it was like a big truck just driving by. And then I thought, whatever. And then like 20 minutes later, I went on Facebook, and I had like 3 or 4 friends say, "Did you feel an earthquake?" And I went, "Yeah, I did." And then I saw breaking news and said, "We just had a 5.1 earthquake in North Carolina. It was the biggest earthquake we've had in 104 years.
That's right. 1916 was the last time this area, you just mentioned, Rick, was shaken by an earthquake of that magnitude.
I can only imagine how cats would react to an earthquake. I mean, think about it. Our cats react to anything, but add alone a little quake, and all of a sudden, goodness.
But both of mine jumped off the bed and went running towards the other room, which cats will do. Obviously, their animals are going to be playful. And like I said a little bit ago, I didn't think anything of it. I thought they were just up and running around. And then that's when I got on Facebook and I saw that we had been shaken by an earthquake. And people always say that animals will feel it before humans, or they have that premonition. But no damage where I live. I have seen some pictures of damage around the area, some foundations. I believe some roads were split. But again, just obviously hope everyone's okay and everyone didn't suffer too much damage to their property.
So what was your initial reaction when the ground was shaking, Dave? We know Rick Curti's been through this drill a few times.
Well, I actually didn't feel it. The rumble is what woke me up. So I didn't feel it. I talked to a few people who were up at that time, and they said they thought somebody was, if one of my coworkers thought that they felt the bed shake, I thought that was someone doing it. Basically at the end of the bed, shaking and saying, "Hey, wake up, wake up." But but then they looked and nobody was there, and they figured, well, we just been shaken by an earthquake, and I've been in North Carolina and South Carolina all my life, except for 3 years out on the West Coast, and the only major fault line close to us here is down in Charleston. So, like I said, I didn't feel it, but the rumbles what woke me up, and then I saw where it was being felt. It was felt as far as south as straight south of Charlotte, Columbia, South Carolina felt it. Southeast, I know they said some people in Atlanta felt it. And I think even eastern Alabama residents there even felt it. So this had quite a far-reaching effect. And my fiance, she has family in Northern Virginia, not far from D.C., and even they felt it.
Mm-hmm. So, Tennessee, too.
Yeah. And it was, I believe they said 6 miles down into the earth is how deep this earthquake was. But yeah, it's, so the 3 years I was out west, was in the Seattle region, and we had one earthquake out there. I do remember I was still in high school. I was actually, in the bathroom brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. I hear the mirror start rattling on the wall. My dad was, sitting on the stairs, and he felt the banister shake back and forth. So that was the only other time in my life that I've experienced an earthquake until yesterday.
Okay. Well, all right. So let's go ahead and talk about the Gastonia professional baseball situation. Gastonia baseball. I remember when I lived in the area, I worked for a guy by the name of Jack Farnsworth, dealing with the Gastonia Rangers. And now all of a sudden you guys have another professional team that's supposed to start soon enough. So, you know, you guys driven by the ballpark. Dave, you tell me what your thoughts are, and then Rick, you can follow up with the Gastonia professional team that's about to play soon enough.
Well, it's only good for Gastonia. It's, I've been by the ballpark a couple of times. Haven't been by in a few weeks, but from what I can tell, diagrams that I've seen and drawings of it, this place is going to be beautiful. It's definitely beautifying, if that is a word. And in a town where a lot of old department store buildings have sat vacant for nearly 2 decades. So it is about time, someone came along and, revamped that area. And what better than professional baseball? But, yes, I believe it's the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball will be having a team, coming to Gastonia. We were talking before we went on air here that, the team, has not been named yet. No name, logo, or colors. But, I believe, Rick, you mentioned that there will be a contest.
Yeah.
That will, fans can submit, whether it be names, colors, drawings, or, logos, mascots. I know actually, the Savannah Bananas of the Coastal Plain League actually did that a couple years ago when the Coastal Plain League expanded into Southeast Georgia. And actually, I know the owner of the the Savannah Bananas, and he did the very same thing. He left it up to the fans, says, this is going to be your local team, so you are going to name it.
Yeah, Macon Bacon did the same thing too.
That they did. I do remember, now that you mentioned it, I do remember that. Because I've actually got some experience broadcasting in the Coastal Plain League in the summer of 2013. I was the voice of the Forest City Owls, which was a sister team to the Gastonia Grizzlies. At the time, they had the same owners. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed every minute of it. The fans came out. It was just the thing to do in the small town. And it was definitely, obviously, a crowd pleaser and just a great way to bring everyone out, support the local team. And I can't wait for it to start.
So tell me, is there any talk about what they'll do with Sims Legion Park?
Well, I've not heard too much about Sims Legion Park for the long story. I thought this ballpark was going to be the new home of the Gastonia Grizzlies. So, Rick, maybe to shed some light on it, it still very well could be. With the pro team coming in, I don't know if they're going to be sharing the stadium or if the Grizzlies themselves are going to be getting a new ballpark sometime in the near future.
I heard that the Grizzlies are not going to be in Gastonia no more.
Okay.
That Fuse project, that was what it was called. It was called the Franklin Urban Sports Entertainment Fuse. This has been going on for years, and they were going to build that stadium for the Grizzlies. And what happened was that the president of the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball, Rick White, he actually contacted the city and said, "Look, we're looking to expand because they're going to lose a team. The New Britain Bees are leaving the league to join a collegiate baseball league, so they needed another team there. They already have a team in High Point, so Rick White contacted the city of Gastonia and said, we are thinking about putting another team in North Carolina, and Gastonia would be the perfect place." And so
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so they had to decide, what are we going to do? And apparently they decided, you know what, let's go with the Atlantic League. It's a professional baseball league. It's been there for over 20 years. And I think it was the best. To me, it was the best choice. And, of course, Gastonia, the Grizzlies got PO'd. And I asked them what's going to happen to them. They go, they won't be here anymore. But we don't know where they're going to go to. So, they won't be the Grizzlies no more. I have no idea what's going to happen to them. That's pretty much what happened, was that the president of the league contacted the city and said, we want to expand to Gastonia.
Did you say there's a team called the Macon Bacon, as in what we eat?
Yes, in Macon, Georgia. They're part of the Coastal Plain League. They're the rival of the Savannah Bananas. And so Macon, Georgia was expanding, and so they had a contest, and the winner was bacon, so they called them the Macon Bacon.
Macon
and the logo is really cool. The logo is really cool. It's like a bacon with a frying pan for a helmet, and he's like swinging a ball. The logos are really cool.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, that's neat. Unbelievable. So let's talk about the owner of the new Gastonia team. His name is Brandon Bellamy.
Yes, he's the first African-American owner of a professional baseball team. He is a CEO of of a company in Washington, D.C., and he's a land developer, which is great because they've already had, I think someone said they're going to build a brewery right across from the new ballpark. So that whole area poor Gastonia, they've been hit hard, especially when the textile mills plants closed down. And so they needed something big there, something huge. And so they just said, this baseball stadium, and it's going to be used year round. They're going to have concerts there. They're going to have high school baseball games there, maybe some soccer games there, sort of like what High Point does. So it's not going to be vacant when the season ends. They're going to use it all year round. They're probably going to have movies at the park, something like that. So it's going to be used all year round. So I think it's fantastic.
Unreal.
I definitely agree with you. It's definitely something that's going to revitalize the community. Obviously, a post-COVID-19 community when all this virus winds down and gets on out of here. But it's nothing but a boon for this area. Rick just mentioned it will be a year-round venue, and hopefully it'll start bringing a lot of big name acts to the area, whether it be rock music, country music. It's only going to definitely revitalize that portion of Gastonia.
I'm looking at the Macon Bacon site. What are they got? Macon eggs too?
I think they're doing some promotional thing where they kind of changing their names.
Yeah.
I know the Knights did that, and I think they're called the Macon Bacon and Eggs or something like that, some kind of campy little thing. Savannah does that too all the time. They do some quirky things at the Coastal Plain League. It's very fun.
I could hardly tell. I'm looking at a little breakfast for dinner series, Saturday, August 15th, eggs versus bacon. All right, before I get hungry, okay, I better get off of this topic. Otherwise, I'm going to find myself scrambled eggs before this is over with. So. And if there's a pun intended, you bet you're darn right it is. So, but when I was there, I worked for a Bible sales guy by the name of Jack Farnsworth. We had Juan Gonzalez, Sammy Sosa on there, and the Gastonia Rangers. Jack Farnsworth was the guy's name. So it's pretty interesting. They do have a pretty good history there. I know the Tigers were there for a year, then the Rangers took over, and the beat goes on. So, all right, let's go on to some other subjects, shall we?
Okay.
And that's this. The Oakland A's have a 9-game winning streak, and they defeated the Houston Astros, I think it was, who are now 6-9. Had a little bit of a beanball incident, and it was the Oakland A's getting beans, and it should be the Astros. So, anyways, we'll forget about the Astros, who are a marked organization. What are your thoughts about the Oakland A's with a 9-game winning streak?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, they're doing really good. They kind of they haven't slowed their pace down from last season. And, kudos to them. I know they're doing well. And Marlins they're a surprise right now. So, it's a very unorthodox season. We don't know if they're going to, we have no idea. It's a big question mark, but so far so good for the A's.
Don't lose sight of the fact that Bob Melvin is a heck of a manager, and Billy Bean obviously plays his money ball pretty well. So they always find a way, don't they, Dave Hodges?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a feel-good story for the season so far. And, and in sports, where there hasn't been a lot of sports over the past several months, I mean, Rick, as you said, kudos to them. Of course, I'm a diehard Seattle Mariners fan, so I'd love for my Seattle Mariners to definitely get on a streak of their own. But, as we mentioned, a little bit of beanball going on the other day. Whereas, of course, any team going to be playing the Astros this year with obviously the breaking of the story of their sign stealing scandal, which many say got them the World Series trophy. And, Scott, as you mentioned, Houston being a marked team right now, obviously, Joe Kelly, the Dodgers, threw at one of their batters, which his face has become a meme now.
Cordero. Yeah,
that's right.
He's an idiot. I saw his. They're trying to go on this apology tour about we're sorry, forgive us, and then it became more of a we cheated, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as you think it was, and they were making excuses, and I think people hated them even more. So. I mean, the way Manfred handled it, no suspensions, no fines. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Which I don't understand. I mean, it taints the game. It really does.
It's saying that it's okay to cheat. It's okay to cheat. And the Astros have never. I mean, they've been to a World Series one time in their history, and now they went to 2 World Series in a short period of time. So of course they were cheating, and of course it made them win the World Series. I mean, it's obvious.
Well, I'll tell you
what I don't understand is, weren't there suspensions and fines handed down to, say, other coaches now that are with other organizations? Wasn't Alex Cora of the Red Sox? Wasn't he punished for this? And
he got fired from the Red Sox. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, why are other guys who are no longer with the organization? It's almost like the ones. Well, of course, I believe a pitcher for. Oakland, actually, was it Fears? His last
Mike
name?
Fires.
Yeah,
right. He is the one who broke this story.
Right.
He's a whistleblower. Yeah, and he got death threats and all this crazy stuff. Yep.
And I don't understand why the Astros are acting like they might be having this attitude of, well, what do we do to deserve this? Okay, where do we start?
Yeah, I mean, this is worse. This is to me worse than the steroids. I mean, because. They actually won a World Series. I compare this to the 1919 Chicago White Sox when they were taking money to lose the World Series. To me, it's the same thing. I mean, they cheated, and they had an advantage and sign stealing and banging on trash cans. And I mean, the Astros hadn't been to a World Series, and what was it 95? They went to where they got swept by the White Sox.
I believe yes, it was
in their history. And now they've been to 2 World Series in 5 years? I mean, give me a break. And the coach got fired, the GM, I think he got fired, and I think Manfred, he gave them immunity. He said, it just fessed up to it, admit that you cheated, and I'll give you immunity. And they did. He gave them immunity, and he said their biggest punishment is going to be embarrassment, and shame is their punishment. And I just was like, you've got to be joking with me.
Well,
these guys, making all this money.
Yeah,
going home to their mansions, or driving their Ferraris home.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is, these guys, a lot of them, they play this game from childhood to now. They worked so hard to get to the majors. When so many guys never get to the majors, and they're cheering, and they get to go home and look at their rings all the time, and But the thing is, you can't call yourselves professionals when you cheat.
Yeah,
you just can't do it. I mean, even Oral Hershiser took a dig at him. I think that was in the same game that Joe Kelly was throwing at him, where it says, "Well, it's a lot harder to guess the pitch when you don't know what's coming."
Well,
which to me, that was the best thing I read that day. I just don't understand how they can sleep at night. I mean, I understand teams are going to do what they can to push the boundaries. I mean, and obviously look at the Patriots. they deflated Deflategate many years ago.
Yep.
And then even not long after that, Shaquille O'Neal came out and said during his playing days, it might be on the Lakers or, the Magic or whoever, but, he might doctor the basketballs a little bit. So, I mean, it's definitely something, it's going to be prevalent in professional sports. And, some of them may live by the moniker of it's only cheating if you get caught.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I even saw this today where, the actor Rob Lowe went on the Joe Rogan Experience, which I believe is, the top podcast in the nation. And he was wearing, if you look at it, it appears to be a Houston Astros hat, but behind the H is not the star; it's an asterisk. Which if I knew where to get one of those hats, believe me, I would wear one.
Yeah.
And honestly, in the record books, there should be an asterisk. People are going to be saying, well, talking about the steroid era with Bonds, McGuire, Sosa. That these numbers, they should have an asterisk next to them because they took a banned substance to a performance enhancing substance. So, okay, then, if you're just going to let the Astros get off with, like you said, shame and embarrassment.
Yeah, that's their punishment. That's
which is another form of cheating.
Yeah.
Okay, then, not that I really want to compare this to that. I mean, it's cheating one way or another, but, okay, so does that mean, say a lot of these guys go on to have Hall of Fame careers. Are you going to, Correa or Bregman or Springer, okay, are you going to keep them out of the Hall of Fame? Like you have, they have Pete Rose for all these years who bet on baseball. Okay, he cheated.
I think Altuve is on the course to be in the Hall of Fame, and to me,
exactly.
He should get in there because he was part of that scandal. I mean, Joe Jackson, third highest lifetime batting average, he ain't in the Hall of Fame, is one of the greatest hitters of all time. He should be in the Hall of Fame, but because he cheated, he's that's all people remember for Pete Rose. Pete Rose is a number one first ballot Hall of Famer, but he cheated. He broke the rules, and to me, the Astros did the same thing. They did it for years, and it wasn't just sign stealing. It was so elaborate what they did. It was just
exactly
straight out cheating because sign stealing been going on forever. You can see what they've been doing, but I mean, this was so elaborate what they did. And so detailed and banging on trash cans and all that stuff. And they admit it. Yeah, we did it, but it's not a big deal, to them. It's like, well, everyone else cheats, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But that's the Astros, how they're portraying it. Like we would have won the World Series anyway if we didn't cheat. So get over it. Well, and it's just ridiculous.
Well, Baron,
which they don't know that. I mean, but honestly, in my opinion, India, these guys, they have to go to bed at night. And when fans do get it, are allowed back into the stands once COVID passes, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg as to what the Astros are going to face.
Oh, yeah.
And this is just from, their peers, whether it be the Dodgers, the A's, whoever. Wait until fans come back into the stand.
Yeah. Well,
you look over time how fans have, jeered and yelled at players. I'll take, for example, Alex Rodriguez. When he left Seattle to go to Texas and to take all the money.
Yeah.
Look at the way this really isn't what you call cheating, but the way his agent Scott Boras basically hijacked the end of the 2007 World Series when the Red Sox had just defeated the Colorado Rockies. Well, then the story broke that A-Rod was a free agent.
Yeah.
He heard that for quite some time. So this is something, the fans are not going to forget this.
Well,
the players can say the organization can say what they're going to say, but the fans are not going to forget this.
Well,
and neither are their peers.
Let me point out a couple of other things, too, while you guys are doing this. And I think, Dave, you make some outstanding points. Carlos Beltran's managerial career was over before it started, number one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, with the Mets.
Right.
He's Wally Backman.
Yeah,
2.0.
right. That's the name of it. That's good. I like that. So Carlos Beltran, managerial career was over before it started. And then you also had the dynamics of what Dave is alluding to. But wait till the Astros face the music when they have to play everybody, not just few teams that they're facing. So let's go back onto the Oakland A's though for a moment, okay? And that's this. Once again, 9-game winning streak. If there's anything that can happen in a bizarre year, you never know. Maybe Billy Beane and Moneyball could make it to the end. I know everybody's talking about the New York Yankees and the Dodgers, but you know what? The A's are winning a lot of games. They're 12 wins and 4 losses at the moment, and we're talking 60 games with expanded playoffs. The A's could be indeed a team to watch out for. So with that said, we'll stay on the COVID-19 thing, and we had the Cleveland Indians sent Zach Plesac home after they won Saturday night 7-1 against the Chicago White Sox. He does go. He is 1-1 with a 1.29 earned run average, 24 walks, and 2 strikeouts. So, who wants to start off here? Zach Plesac. Didn't you say he was he's related to Dan Plesac? Is that right, Dave?
He is. Dan Plesac is actually his uncle.
Okay.
Or one of his uncles. I remember the name. Dan Plesac. His career spanned from, I believe, the late '90s. To the early 2010s. I want to say maybe 1998 to about 2010. He
was a great closer. Great closer for the Milwaukee Brewers.
That he was. And of course, Scott, as you mentioned, he got sent home because I guess, current COVID rules is players cannot leave the hotels. Well, he goes out with his friends, I guess, for a night on the town in Chicago. Of course, the Indians find out about it. And they rent him a car. He's either going to drive himself back to Cleveland or he's going to be driven to Cleveland. Because if he was exposed to, obviously to the virus, they're not going to let him on the plane because that would infect basically the entire organization.
Yeah, right. As if we need any more of those.
Yeah. Just more stupidity, more arrogance. I'm young. I could do whatever I want. I won't get caught. And I mean, it's just stupid because with all the phones and people recording everything and social media, I mean, if this was like the early '80s, okay, you could probably get away with it, but you can't get away with nothing anymore. Oh, no. And so, I mean, this is just beyond. I mean, it's just. I just shake my head with people every day. It's just like, how stupid can you be? This thing is no joke. I mean, it's not a joke. And if you get it and you recover, you should be grateful because there's people who get it and they're dead.
Exactly. And there's, not to, somewhat jump off topic, but, a lot of players are now opting out of the season. I know Marcus Stroman, who was a stud for the Blue Jays, now with the New York Mets. He has opted out along with teammate Yoenis Cespedes, who actually went missing in Atlanta, I believe it was about maybe a week and a half ago.
Right.
And the team couldn't find him. They couldn't get a hold of him. They didn't know where he was. They were worried something had happened to him because he no-showed at SunTrust Park down there in Atlanta. Of course, a player no-shows and, obviously, no phone call, no text, no nothing to obviously the higher-ups, the manager or coach, GM or whatever. You're going to be thinking the worst, but, it's obviously very good that he either turned up or made contact with people that were looking to get in touch with him. But I mean, to still be able to be playing and then to make that mistake, it just pure boneheaded on his part.
Well, bear in mind here that obviously a week ago, and I guess I was wrong, Rick, about my prediction. I thought it would be over August 9th, although you were probably wronger than I was because you wrote it off earlier, so we're both look like boneheads. But then again, Rick, we can eat crow on this because a lot of people, after what happened with the Marlins and now subsequently the Cardinals, which we'll get to in a moment, I want to get on subject, okay? But MLB tightened up their protocols for what they've done. So they had to adjust on the fly, and as a result, Zach Plesac is an example of the more tightened up rules that you have going on there. So, but anyways, let's go on to the next thing, and that's the Pittsburgh Pirates agree to a deal with Henderson Alvarez. Now, Henderson Alvarez is best known. Unfortunately, I have to deal with Crow yet again. And Candy Ebling is about probably ready to come on here or no, she probably won't, but she was a photographer when the Detroit Tigers were no-hit by the Miami Marlins on 9/29/13. Is what he was. Game 162, final game at Marlins Park, had a 5-6 record, and he was an All-Star in 2014. So the only actual no-hitter that I've seen, the Miami Marlins against the Tigers, and the Marlins had lost 100 games that year. Unreal.
Oof. Now,
here's the most interesting irony, Mr. Rick Curti. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where Henderson Alvarez played before he inked his deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Milwaukee Milkmen. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, the Milkmen.
Yeah, so
Milwaukee Milkmen.
Yeah, so therefore, Dave, I never knew anything about the Milwaukee Milkmen until Mr. Curti decided to inform me about the Milwaukee Milkmen. And actually, you know, I think they're one of they're playing. I'm looking over their information right now, and they play in the American Association of Independent Professional Baseball out in Franklin, Wisconsin. So
I'd never heard of them before today. Scott, when we were talking earlier about the topics to go over for tonight, the Milwaukee Milkmen, I kind of like it. I actually do.
Yeah.
Much better than the Long Island Ducks.
Well, I mean, the team's nickname was chosen to reflect Wisconsin's reputation as America's Dairyland. So, you know,
exactly.
And we talk about names here. The Milkman was among 10 finalists in a Name the Tame contest, which also included barn owls. I wonder what a barn owl is. Bovines, broilers, cheesers, cow tippers, crop dusters. Where do they get these names? Farmhands, haymakers, war pigs. Oh my God!
That's what happens when you get the fans naming it. I mean, I remember they had a contest out here about some team, and they wanted to call them the Yalls.
The Yalls, really?
The Yalls, and I was actually it was leading, and I thought that is the most stupidest name I've ever heard in my life.
I guess looking at this,
and eventually that didn't win. I was like, thank God.
Good.
Yeah, looking at this group of names, I'm glad that they went ahead and came up with the Milwaukee Milkmen. It does have a good MM ring.
That's what I liked about it, because the guy that's like their mascot, he's dressed like a 1950s milkman with the outfit and everything.
But anyway,
after hearing those names, it could have been much worse. I did like the broilers, obviously, with that area being known for the beer. That I thought that would go well. Cheese, I think the Packers kind of have that cornered up there with their cheese heads.
Right.
I thought that just would have been, but the milk, like and Scott, you ran off the names. The Milkman to me it's a lot. I like it, and it's really a sign of Americana to me. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. War pigs and haymakers and farmhands, to me, I don't know. I mean, I can see farmhands only being talked about with spring training, but not a name of a team. But then again, everybody's looking at the marketing side of this whole thing. But I think the Milwaukee Milkmen did pretty good. We all know you had the Brewers. So you go from alcohol to non-alcohol. We go from alcohol to beer all the way to milk, okay? And what can I tell you? So, anyways, there you go. But let's stay on Henderson Alvarez. The Pittsburgh Pirates need him. They're 3-13. They got hammered by the Detroit Tigers over the weekend. They had 17-13, 11-5, and then 2-1. So the Pirates walked the plank against the Detroit Tigers, who devoured them over the weekend. So, but Henderson Alvarez, known for his no-hitter against the Tigers, and Candy Ebling had some great shots that you can actually see on the South Florida Tribune if you get a chance to check it out. So, a couple more things I want to get to, and obviously some serious stuff. The St. Louis Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Pirates scheduled for August 10th to 12th, postponed. 17 members of the Cardinals traveling party tested positive for COVID-19. Haven't played since July 29th. And before the breaking news came out, the Cards had played 5 games, 15 were postponed. To reach 60 games, they would have had to have played 55 games in 49 days. Now but now it gets worse, okay? The Tigers doubleheader versus the Cardinals on August 13 got postponed, so you could just take that number and let's see how bad it gets. An awful lot of games canceled, and now I wonder, Rick, you and I should have a bet with David here. Okay, we wondered when we actually wondered when things would get canceled. Now let's have a lighthearted conversation about when will the St. Louis Cardinals be back on the field.
Who knows? I mean, that's crazy.
2 weeks.
I mean, this is the second team that had outbreaks. And, yeah, I mean, I think the Cardinals, weren't they out partying too? So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. I know Manfred's got mad at Tony Clark and said, you better tell your players to tighten it up and stop going out so much, because if not, I might have to cancel the season. So, it's just...
That actually surprises me, why the players wouldn't have more respect for the rules.
I don't think anybody has any respect for the rules. I mean, where I live at and all around, people don't want to wear masks. You know, people don't social distance. There's every week there's always some club or some restaurant packed.
Yep.
I know California, they had this big old massive party in some mansion somewhere. Every day you hear some idiots having parties. They're having these COVID parties where you invite all these people and you try to see who can get COVID. And I mean, it's just the stupidity of what's going on in our country. Yeah, and we're like supposed to be the strongest country in the world, and yet we're leading in deaths and infections. And other countries like Canada and, you know, I mean, New Zealand hasn't had an outbreak or any positive tests in 100 days. And yet, look at us. It's like, I think, was it every 7 minutes in Florida, someone's dying of COVID-19. So, I mean, we're just so arrogant and so stupid right now. And it's actually quite embarrassing.
Well, I do. It was actually a report on Yahoo I saw, I believe it was either last night or earlier this morning, where the U.S. just surpassed the 5 million infection mark.
Yep.
5 million people are infected with this disease. And you listen to all the medical professionals, and they would say, granted, you know, most states are trying to reopen. They're trying to go to phase 2. Rick, I know here in North Carolina, they just extended, I believe, another month and 1 week.
Yep. Again, people partying. They closed. I think you can't get alcohol beverages at a bar or restaurant. They shut it down at 11 o'clock. So
that's right.
And has nothing. People are like, oh, they're banning it. They're not banning alcohol. They're banning the young people are just, I mean, I think 18 to 24 is this virus is targeting people that age, because the young people are the worst of the worst. They're going out partying and drinking and having these COVID parties, and they're just being like very arrogant about it. Like, oh, if I get it, I get it. I'm young enough and can fight it. But yet you hear all these kids, you know, saying that, you know, that are getting it. A school in Georgia opened up its high school.
That's right.
And the kid got suspended because he showed pictures of like, hey, look what's going on. They had to actually shut it down already because all these kids were testing positive. Look what happened in Sturgis bike rally race where they had, was it 200,000 people at some biker rally in Sturgis. I mean,
that's right. The early Black Hills run. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and you have these governors who are just like, we're fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to pray about it. And we're just going to pray. And it's just like this, it's just unbelievable, the stupidity that's going on right now.
Yeah. Well, not only that, over the weekend, I was driving up the ocean as well. And I went from Fort Lauderdale Beach and south of that all the way up to West Palm Beach. And I was amazed and how many masks there were not. Of course, granted, if they're walking, it's another story, or driving a bike. But when I looked at everything in general, there should have been a lot more masks than there were. But then again, you guys already talked about living here in the state of Florida. What would you expect? You know, that's why the cases are as high as they are. So, but nevertheless, you know, when we talk about us living in South Florida, the team that had the first breakout was the Miami Marlins. And they were a laughing stock at the beginning, but nobody's laughing at them anymore. They're the ones that had the big outbreak. And I'll tell you, I was impressed as I spent time talking to Marlins pit players, why they were managing to find a way in their hotel rooms, whether it's using ironing boards, you know, as a source to do abs and whatever the case is, how creative you can get in a hotel room. So, but But meanwhile, the Marlins are a laughing stock because even though they won 2 world championships, they've lost a lot of games over the years. But now you have the Cardinals, who certainly have a much bigger traditional history than the Marlins. So, but what are your thoughts about the way the Marlins are looking? I know they lost 2 of 3 to the Mets, and they're playing the Toronto Blue Jays in the first Major League Baseball game ever over at Salem Field out in Buffalo. That actually starts tomorrow. So why don't you guys give me your thoughts about the Miami Marlins? Dave Hodges, you start first.
Well, it's definitely something, they're going to have to kind of go back to the drawing board on this. And to be honest, I haven't read all of the COVID rules that MLB has set forth. But, it's got to be difficult. Players, they can't, more likely cannot get to the park to take batting practice. The pitchers can't work out with the coaches. And so, you just wonder, how are they going to have their chance to, again, work out or socially distance? And I honestly see a lot of players and a lot of teams are just going to see this as a throwaway season. The fans aren't going to hold it against them. Well, I mean, some might, but and you talk about being in the hotel room and getting creative. Some of these guys, they're going to have to get creative with how they can either work out, see what they're doing wrong, watch tape, and see where the kinks are happening and how they can work them out.
But let me tell you, these pitchers are throwing balls against their mattresses just so they stay, keep their range of motion and whatever they're doing. So they are getting creative. And, of course, obviously you can view a lot of video and tape and all that. So, think about it. This team here, they won two out of their first 3 on and then they strung up. They ended up winning a few straight, so to get up to 7-1 at one point. So Don Mattingly's been a genius, and Derek Jeter even said, "Hey, you know what? We got outright messed up, but nothing you can do about it except learn from it." And the Marlins, who knows what'll happen with them? Nobody expected much out of them anyhow. But Don Mattingly has done a good job. Derek Jeter knows what he has to do. But then all of a sudden, they've rebounded, and the Cardinals can't get back on the field either.
Nope. It's just people are not following the rules, and they're going out partying. And if this season does somehow finish, and I have no idea, it's a big old question mark. But if we're giving out awards, and the Marlins keep doing what they're doing, and if they make the playoffs, to me, Don Mattingly's the manager of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. My goodness. I mean, look at look what happened, the big old outbreaks, and they just reset everything. And I'm sure he yelled and screamed and hollered at his players, like, how stupid can you guys be? And I mean, he got them on a winning streak, and they're slumping a little bit, but I mean, they're quite a surprise right now. And to me, Don Mattingly is like right now the manager of the year.
Well, Rick, I wouldn't.
You also, excuse me, Scott. I mean, one thing I kind of wonder is, okay, you've got a very well-respected manager who's had a very well-respected career in the game of baseball. You got one of the greatest to ever play the game. And I'm sure, a lot of people say, I'm talking Derek Jeter here, a lot of people say, well, let me throw some numbers, facts, and figures here at you. But, they're playing for 2 icons of the game. Mm-hmm. Don't you think they would just, they would want to, straighten up? Straighten up, fly right, say, okay, you don't need to be out partying this time of night. And to me, it kind of defies logic. I mean, again, you're playing for 2 world-class men who had, illustrious careers in this game.
Right.
Wouldn't you just listen to them? And, I mean, honestly, if I'm Mattingly and I'm Jeter, these guys just won't follow the rules. Okay, who are we going to send back to the minors?
Well, here's the deal. Rick, I'm not so sure Don Mattingly would tell his players, in fact, I know it with the Zoom calls, how stupid can you be? His style's a little bit much different than that, but I'm sure he made his point without...
Yeah, of course.
So, no,
not those words, but...
I'm just kidding with you, Rick. I like to give you a hard time. That's okay. Rick Curti, folks, is known, and he does a good job with his opinions. More power to the guy. And that's what I love about Rick is his brashness. That's what makes him Rick Curti, okay? That's why at one point we used to have a Rick's Rants, okay, which is a good stuff. But no, that wasn't Don Mattingly's style. But don't think there wasn't an authoritative tone to it, which we do know indeed there was. But the way they've managed to rebound, and of course we know Derek Jeter, he's certainly made sure that his message was loud and clear with the embarrassment of that organization. But here's the thing. They added a lot of players off the waiver wires is what they've done. Everybody's giveaways, and they bolstered their bullpen. So anytime you can get another 15 to 20 players as reinforcements to make it a competitive team, that's probably what helped the Marlins a great deal as well. Think about it. A lot of teams are getting rid of players, and the Marlins are snapping up right and left to go along with their good core of younger players. So the only dilemma they're going to have is we got all this extra organizational depth. Who goes back to Jupiter, which is where the taxi squad is, and who ultimately remains on the 28-man roster. But if you're Don Mattingly and Derek Jeter and President Michael Hill, that's a good problem to have. It really, really, really is.
Oh, yeah.
As they go deeper into this whole thing. But, they've definitely bounced back quite well.
And hopefully they'll continue to do so.
I think so, too. So, I think we've covered a lot of good ground. I don't know about the Cardinals, though. Wonder how many, I can only imagine, what they're going to have to do with all these doubleheaders. So, while we're talking about the Cardinals, the Marlins, and a lot of teams that have to deal with it, okay, what are your thoughts about the 7-inning doubleheaders? Is a complete game a legitimate complete game? Even though there are complete games that are 5 innings if a game gets postponed, so I wouldn't say that you devalue the complete game. But both of you guys, before we wrap up the broadcast, give me your interpretations of what you think of the 7-inning doubleheaders.
I hate it. I mean, I understand why they're doing it. It's a very unconventional year. I get it. I mean, they want to speed up the game. That's always been an issue with baseball, but I'm just like a purist. I had a hard time with the instant replay. I'm still not a fan of it, but I understand why they do it. But honestly, I don't like it when they do stuff like this. Or, another one was they wanted to put a man on second base and robot umpires and all this craziness, and I get it, but I don't like it.
Go ahead, Dave.
I agree. Yeah, they want the numbers to go in the books. They're trying to get as many games played as possible. I'm with Rick here on this one. I'm a purist when it comes to the game as well, and I just don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I want the season postponed, but if you're going to do something, especially in the professional sports arena, do it the right way. College sports are having to, rework everything. So much money is being lost. Fans can't be there. It's nobody likes it. I mean, it's what we're calling a new normal. But honestly, no, I'm not digging the 7-inning doubleheaders. It's just not for me. It gives you an uneasy feeling. People be like, well, they didn't play 9 innings, so it's not official. I may say, yes, okay, it's official, because obviously that's, you got to get to 7 innings, of course, in a rain delay for it to be an official game. But no rain delay, personally, I'd say, no.
Yeah,
what if the guy throws a perfect game?
Right.
I mean, it does it count?
Exactly.
I'm not going to count it.
Right. Well, that's true. That's a good point. Perfect game.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only gimmicky rule change I really struggle with is the extra inning rule with a man on second base.
It's weird.
But thankfully, that particular rule, is a one and done. It really is. That's horrible. So, but meanwhile, my North Carolina tandem, I think we've covered a lot of the major things here. The next time we bring you guys back on soon enough, we'll look forward to continuing more baseball conversation. I know we'll have updates as we go along. So with that said, Dave Hodges, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports. And I'm also on Facebook as Dave Davino Hodges, Davino. I'm a diehard soccer fan, so I figured I'd give myself a Brazilian name. I came up with that 2 years ago during the 2018 World Cup. So again, Dave Talks Sports on Twitter and Dave Davino Hodges on Facebook for any topics or any topics you'd like to send for maybe for me to talk about or for us to talk about on a future broadcast. Or you just want to talk sports, hit me up.
Well, Dave will be coming on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk more often. Really delighted with his contribution tonight. So we're glad to have you on as a new regular to the broadcast to join the other regular that I'm talking to, Mr. Rick Curti, who, by the way, works with the South Florida Tribune and works in our social media department. So, Rick, we enjoy having you on every week, and whenever else we can get you in the lineup. So why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you as well?
You can contact me on my website. It's www.charlottebats.com. We're also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. We also have another page. It's Charlotte Bats Baseball. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti. I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball, and I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats.
Well done. And as I reiterated, Rick goes ahead and works with us, and I've been working with him for quite a while. So, with that said, in terms of how to get a hold of us, just so you know, you're listening to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Tonight, my co-host are Dave Hodges, as well as Rick Curti. You can find these broadcasts wherever you get your podcasts. But the five that stand out are Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. If I'm going too quick, I always say the second time for reinforcement, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. You can go ahead and subscribe to those, and you can get 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. And we also do this broadcast on Thursday as well. My co-host on Thursday is Stuart Hack, who does a really super job. So I'm glad to be able to run this broadcast a couple times a week, beginning and at the end of the week. You can also find us on Twitter at Tribune South. That's the @ Tribune South. Have a Facebook page, South Florida Tribune. Instagram, South Florida Tribune. I do have a YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. When we get to Carolina, Mr. Hodges and Mr. Curti, you're going to be on the YouTube channel as well. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You'll be able to find all of our columnists as well as our media distribution partners and these broadcasts on the same website, a one-stop shop. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. So, and of course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. So it's been a pleasure having you guys on the broadcast tonight. I thought you did a fantastic job. I know there's a lot of storylines that'll be playing out. But right now, I'll tell you what, how about those amazing Oakland Athletics? And
yeah. Bob Melvin, Manager of the Year, and Don Manley, Manager of the Year.
Yeah, I'll tell
definitely
you.
feel good story for baseball right now. The Oakland A's, that is.
Yeah, I think so. Before we conclude the broadcast, I want to make sure that everybody out there stay safe, stay at home, mask up, America, wherever you want. Kudos to our frontline heroes as well. We want to make sure that they get their dues and social distance, folks. My goodness.
Oh, yes.
Haven't we learned by now that COVID-19 is a very, very, very dangerous situation? It affects anybody at any age, and the long-term repercussions for it are just not even worth risking. We could say this all we want, but again, the power of reinforcement being what it is what it is. So on behalf of David Hodges and Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, thanking you for joining us on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk.